Hello, this is Learning Journey. This is week 7 of our Python coding journey. In this in this video, we'll be going over functions and how they can be used and the syntax and the definition behind them. So let's get into this. What are functions? Functions are reusable blocks of code that perform specific tasks. They allow you to avoid having your code repeat multiple times, and they allow your programs to be easier to read and to maintain. Why even use them? One, you can reuse the function multiple times so that you don't have to keep rewriting the same code over and over again. Another, it simplifies your tasks into smaller and more easier to read pieces, and it's easier to debug and test. Now we're going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to open up a text file. Let's select our language as Python as always. Let me go ahead, I did forget to do it. We're going to snooze tab 9 for an hour. Let's go ahead and save this. We're going to save it as functions. And here we are, we're going to get into this. I'm going to go ahead and give you a simple one. It's going to be definition greet print hello world. And that's all it's going to be. And as you should be able to notice from just writing this very simple one, that this right here, the definition or def, is the descriptive function name. If you have this, it means you're typing a function. You type these parentheses right here, they can hold parameters. You could put in int x string c, and instead of having this, you could do print c and go not def, you can go greet and type in put this and put in hello world into the greet function, and it should work. We gotta wait for it to load in the terminal to see if it does. It does not. I forgot. Python, you don't actually have to label your variables. So it's just C, print C, and it automatically prints for you. So then you no longer have to type in the print statement, you have to type in greet. In this scenario, it's not exactly useful. But anyways, back to the syntax. The parentheses hold your parameters. The colon is the start of your function body. It helps with indenting for structure. Or it helps for structure, and then you have to indent every line. If this wasn't indented, it would not be a part of your function. Now to call a function, like I showed, you call their name, and if they have a parameter, then you need to fill it in for one, unless it has a default value. I don't know if we're going to get into that. Depends on time, really. We're going to get into that, but otherwise you can do this. We always Control Z. Go back, delete that, go Control X, delete Control V, like so, and it will automatically print hello world. Because there's no parameters, it does it without an issue. And now we're going to go over parameters versus the arguments. Parameters are variables that are defined in the function declaration, while arguments are the actual values passed into the function when declared. For example, if we do definition greet and we have name here, and we do hello, and we do this, so it's easy, boom. So that means when you put in name, it will print out name for you. And here you can add in Alice. But that was not supposed to do that. I forgot to add the F, so we can format it that way. This is F string format, that's on me. Anyways, here we go, and you have hello Alice. The parameter is Alice, right? Your argument though is name. Name is used here, that's your argument. Now when the parameter is put in, it goes here into your argument, and then it gets put here so it can print out correctly. Now we're going to work on a return statement, so instead of automatically printing it out, instead, let's do definition add, and we'll go A and B is what we're accepting with add, and we'll go return A plus B, And then we can go here and we'll go result will equal add 6 and 9. And the return function will give us 15 and it'll save it to our result. In which case then we can now print out said result and it will print out 15. This is one of the more common ways to do it. While you can have it automatically print out, the return statement is very useful if you want to save that result and then edit it later in the main code. Now you do have some different kinds of parameters. You have default parameters, which is like, if we go back to where it was greet, it's a ways away, there we go. We have greet here, and we can go ahead and put name equals guest, so hello guest. That means we'll do it twice, one with greet Alice and one without it, and there will be no error. I apparently went too far back, so I forgot the F string. And then if you don't put it in, it automatically just uses guest, but if you do, it will use whatever you put in. And just to see if it does do an error when you don't have one, we're on this, and you have an error because there's no default value that automatically there's no default value it automatically accepts when you don't use a variable. Another thing to watch out for is positional parameters. An example of this is when you have name and then you have age to show someone's age. Hello, name, you, and you are years old, like so. One thing you have to watch out for is if you will put Alice 23, if you put 23 here and then put Bob, in this scenario it will work for the sole purpose that you have to get rid of the default value since there's no default value with age. So if you have a default value for one, you have to have a default value for the other one maybe? What was the issue? Alright, since name had a default value, age does need one. But if age has one, name does not need one. If I'm reading this correctly. Yeah, right. In this scenario, it works out because they're just being put into a print statement. But notice how on the second one, it doesn't say, hello Alice, and you are 23 years old. It says, hello 23, you are Bob years old. Due to the position of it, the code won't change it based on what it thinks is right. It automatically accepts that you put it in correctly. That's something to watch out for when you're doing code later, where you might have like 6 or 7 different types of parameters, and it's harder to combine them all together. Now I'm going to write out a code that combines the parameters, arguments, and the return statement all to once to show you what your code could look like in the future. Now we'll do definition, calculate payment. We're going to try to calculate someone's payment. What do we need? Or how much they're going to make. You need the amount they earn. No. Yeah. We're going to need the amount they earn. What their tax rate at is if they know it. If not, we will just take a guess that it's 10%, which is 0.10. And how many years they have worked. We'll go with that. And we'll just automatically assume that it's 2 years that they've worked. And then we're going to try to calculate this out. We're going to have total, an argument. Alright, those are all arguments, and those are all parameters. Total is an argument later on. And we'll do amount, which is going to be times the yearly, how many years you've worked, minus amount times tax rate times years you've worked. And that will then be returned, so you can then use it later on. And all you have to do is now type in return total, because you put this all in total. You could delete total here and just have it return this. That would also work. Now we're going to go calculate payment, and we're going to do 100, and then we're going to go 0.05, and years equals, we've worked on the job 10 years, and then we're going to calculate payment, and we're just going to say 300, just so I can keep the number small, so if it's wrong I can do it in my head. I did not spell calculate right. There we go. Now we're going to run it. And me being the smarty pants I am, I completely forgot to add a print statement, so we'd actually know what it's printing out. All that showed us right there is that it does run and it does work, which is good news to know. And now we will try to print it. We have 950 and 540. That sounds right. Yep, that sounds right for both of them. But this was showing how you can combine them all at once, and you might have to do this later on depending on what type of code you're coding. Like for a calculator, you would need to have only like A and B shown, or maybe more to find the parentheses it's using. The next thing we're going to go over is the difference between a local scope and a global scope. For variables, a local variable exists only inside a function, while a global variable exists through the whole program and not just inside a function. They should be used sparingly because it can cause a bunch of issues later on. And here we go. We're going to go ahead and go, I'll show you an example. We're going to put x equals 10 at the top of our code. That means it is now, x is 10 can be used by anything because it's not inside any code. So we'll do modify. I forgot the colon. Modify, and then we're going to go global x, and we'll do x plus equal 5, which means we're going to add 5 to it. And we're going to print. We're going to use the string formatted so we don't have to type more, and go inside function, and then we're going to go here and go x. That should work. Then we'll go modify, and then we're going to do the same print statement as before, but just so we can know the difference between them, we'll do outside. I actually misspelled function up there, but it's fine. Outside function x. We're going to hit print right here, go for it, and it's 15 and 15. Which just doesn't really showcase how it could be used badly, but it does mean that it's a bit harder to show that a global number can be accessed by your function here and then encode here. While if we have a variable inside here, like let's see, we'll do c equals 15, and we're going to change this to c and this to c, which will mean that our outside the function is going to try to draw in the c from inside a function. But you can't do it because the outside function doesn't have access to a local variable for the function modify. But it will have access to global even if modify doesn't touch it. And this will show that example for you. If we show this, x had the opportunity to, x could still be printed out by the outside function, even though modify never touches it. And next I'm going to give you 3 challenges you can try to do, and that's where we're going to wrap up our code. Your challenge 1 is to write a function named hello world that prints hello world out when it called. That's the easiest one. That's your basic one. Your intermediate one is going to be where you write a function Fahrenheit to Celsius with a parameter Fahrenheit, to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. If you want to take that one a step further, do the opposite, Celsius to Fahrenheit with the parameter Fahrenheit. And for your advanced exercise, write a function prime check. Parameter is just is number to check if a number is prime, and then you're going to return true or false. I'll give you 2 seconds to pause the video, and then I'm going to start working on them, starting with the basic, then the intermediate, then the advanced. Okay, now for the basic one, right? It's pretty simple. We're going to do definition hello world, and we don't need a parameter. All you're going to do is put print the quotes and go and go hello world like this. And that's all you have to do. Hopefully you spell world correctly when you're typing it. Unfortunately, I did not. Here we go. I'm gonna fix it real quick. Go here, 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 and we're just gonna hit run. And there you go. It works perfectly fine. It printed hello world. That was its job. On to the next one. We're going to leave that there so you can see the answer the whole time. We're going to go Fahrenheit to Celsius. And I may or may not have forgot to add the definition for it. Now, you might have had to look up the formula for Fahrenheit to Celsius, but that's okay. If you didn't feel like looking it up and you just wanted to type out the answer without it, that's okay. Just know what you had to do to get it to work. And that's all. Now you have 2 options here. If you want it to go ahead and print for you, you can include a print statement in here. For me, I want to showcase the return statement also, so I'm not going to use that method. Now we're going to need to accept the variable Fahrenheit. So we're going to use, we'll go temp equals I don't think I'm spelling it. Fahrenheit. I misspelled it, but Fahrenheit, which will give you a number, and we times that. No, we minus by 32 in parentheses, and then you times that by 5 divided by 9, and you're going to return temp, and then down here we will call temp again, but it's a different variable than the one above because outside the function we do not have access to the inside of the function. And this is where we're going to call Fahrenheit to Celsius on 32 degrees, and we're going to run it. And I once again forgot to print out my thing so I would know the answer. Print. And here you go. You got 0.0 because you did 5 divided by 9. It transformed it into a float, so you get the extra 0 there. Otherwise, this is what you get. 0.0 hello world for the first one. And now on to the more advanced one. This is where you're going to be writing a function called prime check. And you're going to use number there for your parameter. We're going to get rid of that. I forgot to put def. There we go. Here we go. Def prime check number, and all this is going to do, this is going to return true or false, just depending on if this is a number. This combines multiple of the lessons we've learned. For one example, it provides the if statement, saying if the number is less than 2, return false. Return false. While it also combines a for loop, so you can check to see if it's going to be true or not based off if it's divisible by 2 over a number of times, or if it's divisible by any number other than 1 in itself, I believe is what's classified as a prime number. So you need to do for range starting at 2 all the way to whatever the number is times 0.5. I accidentally typed a number twice. for a number times 0.5 plus 1. I believe this should work. And then you do if number module, which I don't know if we went over this, but module means that if it's 11 divided by 2, module would print out the 1 instead of the 5 or 5.5. It tells you whatever the remainder would be if you ever put the number in there. This is saying if anything that I has is divisible by 0, then that means another number can go into it, which means it is no longer false, or which means it is no longer a prime number candidate, making it false. But if it passes through all that, you can then return, if I can type it out, return true. And that's what you're going to be working with. And then all we have to do is we'll take this a step further than I was intending. I was intending you to just go print prime check and do 11 like this. In which case we'll see if it will showcase. I forgot a colon again for the umpteenth time. True, because it is a prime number. But if you want to take this one step further, just to make it more usable over time, you can do value equals int input and do choose a positive number, and then we'll go print prime not permission, prime check value like this. And this takes it one step further because it's no longer hard coded in what the value is. The value could change depending on each one. Well, let's see if I can think of a prime number. I think 37 is one, while we can go do it again, but do this time 36, which is false because it's divisible by 12 and 3, 9 and 4, so it's no longer a prime number. That's it for today. Remember, next week we'll be doing 3 or 4 projects, and that's what we're going to be doing next week instead of learning more code. Otherwise, remember to comment down below something you learned this week or a way I can improve my videos. Otherwise, I'll see you later.